UNPAVED, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
Sean Salisbury, former NFL quarterback.
29-year-old Sean Salisbury, his second start as a National Football League quarterback.
Hey guys, welcome into UNPAVED. We got a great one for you. Well, I probably say that every day, but you know, what did I mean? I guess everybody has their open that they like. You know, today's better than the next one, what have you. But we have some great stuff for you, and a lot of football going on, as you well know. I mean, with golf and baseball and all those things in full swing, pretty close to the Major League Baseball season start, and college basketball. But there's no offseason in football, college, or NFL. NIL goes crazy, transfer portal goes crazy, spring ball goes crazy, and then free agency and evaluating draft and combine and all that kicks in. So it's like, well, as many eyes during the offseason are there that are during the season. It's crazy. Think about this. If you don't think the quarterback position is, when I say top shelf, meaning that regardless of where you are, even if you've got great players, everybody's mind is still, how do we make our quarterback better? It just is. We're driven by that. Yet guys like me who play quarterback say, how do we make the running game better? How do we continue to upgrade defense and make sure we're physical? Well, you think about a star in Buffalo was upgraded, and we still think they need other help. One team's getting rid of one that may be a little bit of a headache, and is the headache bigger than the talent? And then another team that's let a few offensive linemen, moved a few of them, and now what are they doing? They're signing one trying to protect their quarterback. It's all over the place, man. If you can't be physical and that guy can't win in January, you can't wear a ring. Let's bring in Adam Sager. Segs, a lot of it going on. I know that receivers can be headaches at times because they're still open. They're even open in the offseason, Segs. But you got to ask yourself, okay, is it an upgrade? Do we do this? Can we fix them? I've told you a million times, Segs. People talk about, I can fix a guy that somebody else couldn't. And that exists the whole time. But you can see throughout the league, Segs, that teams that are building, I know defense and trades and all that matter, but getting under the salary cap so you can go get more players. And number two is trying to give your good quarterback some great people around him, or to keep him upright and protect him. And two playoff teams have done what they think is another step towards protecting their precious commodity, which is a guy who takes snaps and throws a football.
Yeah, we see a big trade. We talked about the big trade between the Chiefs and the Rams that took Trent McDuffie to L.A. Well, now we see the other side of the ball, wide receiver, someone Trent McDuffie would cover, and DJ Moore heading from Chicago to Buffalo. So Josh Allen gets a new weapon. The terms of the trade are the Bears are trading DJ Moore and a 5th-round pick this season, this coming draft, for a 2nd-round pick this year. So a lot more than, when this first was reported, the compensation didn't come out right away. And all my buddies I was talking to and stuff, we all thought 4th, maybe that late 3rd, maybe. But more, we were thinking the 4th-round pick. And it ends up being a lot more. So when you see that 2nd-round pick, wow. DJ Moore, talented, but has been up and down throughout his career. We were thinking, the Bears are going to retain salary. No, it's the exact opposite, actually. Buffalo will fully guarantee his 15.5, or they will fully guarantee 15.5 million of Moore's 2028 base salary, and his 2027 base salary becomes fully guaranteed next week. Next week. So now they are basically locking themselves into DJ Moore for 3 years. I mean, this is a guy who, in my opinion, isn't a number one, I think he's a really good player if he has that other guy with him. And we saw when he didn't have somebody, he struggled. And when the Bears had a whole host of compliments around him, he had really good games. So I think it helps Buffalo, but I think the trade that the Bills made was a bad one. And we'll see if it comes back to bite them with DJ Moore.
Yeah. Listen, DJ Moore is a number 2 with high potential. That's what he is. Not just
he's
the number
also
on
now
his jersey.
29.
Right.
You know, he was part of that first overall pick trade. He was younger, 26. Now he's going to be 29. It's just a different DJ Moore.
This is a 4-year stretch that he's got to elevate. It just does. This also tells you that as we probably from September to the end of the football season on this show repeatedly talked about, that guy that wears number 17 cannot continue to dress in a phone booth every week, and you expect that every single time that he's going to be, I mean, while he's close to being the Scotty Scheffler of football, I got news for you. Hell, he is, at least in golf, you're not relying on anybody but the dude carrying your bag or your swing coach. But once you hit the course, when it's out there, it's like, can this guy catch? Can this guy run? Can this guy block? And they've got some people. But this dude is as close to having an S on his chest as we have in a league, meaning Josh Allen. So you add a receiver to take the S on the chest, and hopefully, even if there's a little bit of the S that's not on there, that he doesn't have to put a cape on every week to win. But Buffalo cannot win on a consistent basis. And Mike, I guess we could say this about the top 5 quarterbacks in league segs, but
yeah,
I also would argue that there are some teams that when your quarterback plays average, they can still win. I think it's fairly proven that when Josh Allen is having a day, and listen, even an average day for him feels like a pretty good day for the portal, right? So the point is that you got to at least, there's got to be a chance for him to take a deep sigh, like on an 0-2 count, where he can step off the rubber and say, okay, now that's in my favor as a pitcher, I can waste a pitch. He can't waste them in Buffalo. And that's a great fan base, new facility coming in. They've got really, really good pieces, but they keep coming up shy on the big puzzle. So you add a receiver, and here's the irony of it, Segs. Through my hearing, and this isn't anything, and you've heard it too, he's a little bit of a pain in the ass.
Oh, yeah.
DJ Moore. This also reeks of Ben Johnson and an organization that had no problem parting with the guy who's got star potential. While you're trying to raise up and elevate your quarterback to another level, we know Ben Johnson knows about weapons. He had 2 running backs, a tight end or 2, and a couple great wide receivers in Detroit to assist that with why am I losing my mind?
Jared Goff.
With Jared Goff, and now with Caleb. So you're willing to get rid of this guy, but in turn, they got more than they expected. I both know this. There is no doubt. So it speaks of offensive desperation. Now, and this isn't me, this is just the chatter and the verbiage around the league. DJ Moore, talented, but can be a little bit of a diva at times.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Is that a soft way to put it, Segs? Without they're not trying to bear it, but you all heard it.
Yeah.
And the guy that's going to get cut from the Bills, or did they cut him yet this morning? I know it was imminent, Segs, but
yeah.
And Stephon Diggs.
Right.
What was it around? What is it? A little bit older. What's the talk around him? Productive player, enormous talent, a little bit of a headache, right? And he's going to be leaving another team again, more than likely. So you're replacing one, but younger, and right at this stage of the career, DJ Moore's got more upside than Stephon Diggs, although Diggs will get picked up and go play somewhere. The point is that Buffalo knows, Segs, and they're not going to be done, that if they don't upgrade and be high-powered all the time and then add to their defense, that they're going to continue, even with a new coach, come up short. This is something they have to elevate to, and getting Josh Allen help. They feel an overpay. In my mind, this reeks of we're a little bit desperate. We're going to overpay assets to get a guy that we hope plays like a number 1. That's exactly what they want.
Yeah, I think it's interesting from the standpoint of something you talked about yesterday with the Buffalo Bills, that they were a potential.
And Segs, when I talk about this, so people understand, I know that when I say traded to the Bills, Stephon Diggs is there. When Diggs, who's a New England Patriot, they're going to let him go. I know that. I'm talking about when he was in Buffalo with a headache.
Yes.
With a headache. You're replacing one guy from 3 years ago with the same guy. I know he's in New England, and New England's going to move him on. So just so you understand that I'm not going 3 years back to Stephon Diggs. That followed him around everywhere. When he came to Houston, they said, really good player, named him a team captain, and played well, then got hurt. And then then he ends up signing with New England. Really good player. There was still some stuff that surrounded him there. So they're going to move on. But Buffalo, when they moved on from him and Houston traded for him, my point is you're replacing that guy from a couple years ago with a very similar guy with just younger body. That's all I'm saying. So just so people know, it's like, what do you mean, Sean? Steph didn't play for Buffalo. I know. I'm talking about the same general managers in place is my point, Segs, just a new coach. But it reeks of desperation with what you're giving up. And this team's too close to be desperate. But if DJ Moore lives up to what we think he can be, you got a big one. And meaning a very talented guy. The question is, can you keep him happy regularly? He's got it'll be the best quarterback he's ever played with. Yeah. And the guy he was with in Chicago was pretty good.
Yeah, and they'll still have some good weapons there with him, with obviously James Cook, one of the best running backs in football. You still have Khalil Shakir, the good, younger wide receiver that stepped up multiple times last year for Josh Allen. Then you still have Dawson Knox and the other tight end, who I'm going to blank on his name right now, but the other one who's a good tight end as well. So you got some weapons there now. I still feel like they need maybe one more for Josh Allen.
Perimeter player's sakes, they can run the ball. We know that too.
Type guy. Yeah. So I really feel like, while I think they overpaid by quite a bit for DJ Moore, especially giving him all the guarantees that they gave him and kind of locking him into almost a 3-year player, he does help Josh Allen in this offense. It's interesting from the Bears because now they're going very young when you still have Roma Dunze, the 2 rookies from last year, Burden and Loveland, who were both great, especially towards the end of the season. Cole Kmet is another one. They'll go out there and they'll get themselves a veteran that, can still help out and become, one of the guys that's on the field a lot because they play a lot of, 3 wide receivers. They'll use Loveland as a wide receiver with Kmet at tight end. Ben Johnson still has plenty to work with, and they'll continue to add. But it also, with Dahlman retiring and now with this trade, it clears up, I think it's almost $27 million in cap space just between those 2 guys. So if you are looking at a Max Crosby trade, if you are looking at Trey Hendrickson to come in as a free agent or Tyler Linderbaum, the center, to replace Dahlman, you're freeing up some money, and they still have other ways that they can free up some money as well. So I really like this deal for the Bears because it seemed like it was heading this way. If you've really listened to Ben Johnson over the last, since he was hired, basically since
a little disenfranchised with him.
Possibly. Yeah, especially right after the draft, after they drafted Loveland and Burden, Ben Johnson just straight said, hopefully this is, paraphrasing, a kick in the pants for a couple guys on our roster right now. And everybody at that time knew it was 2 eyes pointed straight at DJ Moore that he needed.
Yeah, he's saying his name without saying his name. Yes, that's all he was saying.
So, one other kind of caveat to this: how do you think this affects AJ Brown's trade value with the Eagles? They've been steadfast that they want a number 1, a first-round pick. I think getting a second rounder for DJ Moore, even though you had to give up a 5th,
ensures a first-round pick for Philly.
Or you got to at least be a second and a 5th, or you got to double it up to get first-round value. Maybe you don't give up the first-round pick, but the value of a first round.
Well, and whatever that point system is for them, right? Segs your 5th-round value. That if the guy plays 75, you can always, he can become a 4th-rounder if he gives us 4, whatever he reaches. And Segs, it led me, and there's no doubt the value of AJ Brown, who's got value anyway, goes up because we're starting, as we continue to see the weapons. And especially if you have a quarterback beating down the door for him, right? And like I'm sure Josh Allen would ask for, or anybody else would, to get weapons. And you see when weapons aren't there, when injuries happen, what happens to a great player. We mentioned 15 in Kansas City. Mm-hmm. I mean, as good as he is, his production has fallen off as they have lost perimeter people, Segs. It just has. Not that he's not great, but I'm talking about the gaudy numbers that we see other quarterbacks putting up all season long. Back to Buffalo real quick. When's the last time? I'm talking about a true number 1. When Stephon Diggs, I think we thought he was 1 in Buffalo when he was there. What has it been, 3 years already, Seg, since he's been gone? Yeah. Is he maybe this was year
I
maybe
want to say this
2.
was,
This will be year 3
yeah, maybe
that
this
he left Buffalo because he was here a year and then left. And then, this is, I think, going on year 3. And then New England. But, okay, he leaves. But you've had who else? Gabe Davis.
yeah.
I'm just going through names in Josh Allen's career that you say that dude takes over games. Has he had one? Am I missing somebody? I'm not talking about tight end, perimeter wide receiver.
No, just Stephon Diggs that I can think of off the top
Yeah,
of
I'm
my
thinking
head.
about even early in his career in the infancy when he started to develop into a player. So it just also validates what Brandon mean and why they would go do this. They're
Yeah.
still, put it this way. I guess the easy way to say it is they're still searching for a number one who's dominant, right?
Yeah.
And then number one who's dominant, but also they think, and you wouldn't trade all that if you didn't think DJ Moore was that guy. The question is he, as you've realized in Chicago, and Dr. J, to answer your question, Diggs got cut. The question is, will he go back? You're asking if he returns to Buffalo. That's a question that, how do they still feel about it, right? How do they feel with all the, when he left in the first place, which goes back to, it wouldn't be a bad weapon. He's then you're battling for who the number one is. You may have 2 number 2s trying to elevate. Diggs has still got skills. So the deal here is everybody's trying to find that guy, and A.J. Brown will have some value in Segs. I think this just enhances Philadelphia's ability to get something at least close to what they want. And Thor, thank you for the compliment. I appreciate it. I miss Houston radio as well, but grateful to have you on.
You mentioned the Kansas City Chiefs. If you were Andy Reid and company, would you call Philadelphia and say, hey, that 29th pick we just got for Trent McDuffie, would you take that for A.J. Brown? Bring A.J. Brown in? And
if I'm Philadelphia, I jump all over it. And if I'm Kansas City, you already have what Segs? They're up around 9, you said? Would you say what's your other pick?
29 is the pick that they would get.
Right. No, they traded for. No, I'm talking about this. Don't the Chiefs have another one?
Yeah, I believe they're 9. I'm looking at
inside the top. Are they inside the top 15?
Yeah.
Somewhere in there. I thought
they are sitting at 9. Yes.
They're right. 9. Okay, so their original first round picks at 9.
Yeah.
Right, for this. The one they just traded for Trent McDuffie's 29.
Yes.
So if you're able to, if you're Philadelphia, I don't think in this situation, say you can get more than that. Right. So if you're Philly, you take it. And if you're Kansas City, are people saying, well, it's not worth it? Once again, I go back to, I've seen the proven commodity. And what does Andy Reid do? Seg's better than anybody. Takes on guys he's got to fix a little bit.
Now,
right?
Let me ask you this, though. With the injury to Patrick Mahomes and him not basically playing majority of the year, do you hold off? Do you say, you know what? That doesn't make sense for us to go get A.J. Brown right now because of the injury. We know we're probably in a good division with Denver and the Chargers. I don't know that you can really say you're a playoff team at the moment without Patrick Mahomes. So would it make sense to go get him? I'm just thinking about this as I go, because as you brought up the Chiefs, then I'm like, wait, that could make some sense. And then I'm like, wait, there's the injury. So there's so many layers to that type of deal with Kansas City.
I think I'm going to look at it as opposite. You're welcoming back with a guy that you have there that's already been in, that you welcome Mahomes back, and he's not coming back to an empty cupboard. He's coming back to Worthy and A.J. Brown, and probably one more go for Kelsey Segs? You think he goes one more year, maybe?
That's going to be the rumors back.
I know. I don't know.
Because without Patrick Mahomes, does he want to play another year?
Right. Then the part is, does he want to go out the way they went out last year? You know what I'm saying? So we'll see.
Then so it's like you've got to play 2 years, right?
Right.
You want that second year with a full healthy Mahomes, especially if you get A.J. Brown. You got Rashee Rice still. There's a lot.
I'm always saying that. I was just about to mention now Rice has got some issues.
Yeah, he's got a clean.
But you want to talk about enormous talent. Now do the math. Rice, if he's on, depending on what happens, Xavier Worthy, who's a puff of smoke, the guy running, you blink and he's run 60 yards. And then you add A.J. Brown to the list and shore up the physicality on the run game and get back to the way you can run it. Doesn't that instantly take you back to Tyreek Hill when they were at their best offensively? Yeah. And even though you won't get Mahomes early, man, that's like coming back to Christmas. You're saying, oh, man, this is cool. We got the Rashee Rice situation settled. Worthy's still growing as a player. And now we're going to add this cat here, A.J. Brown, who's a number one in anybody's book. And Kansas City seems to keep guys able to keep them under control with a little bit of ego. I'm one of those guys. I don't wait, man. And I think A.J. Brown's worth the 29th pick of this draft. I do, but you make a good point on whether that's their plan or not. We'll see.
Yeah, and I think it's interesting because you could always go back the other way and just say, if you want to play devil's advocate, you could say, well, keep the 29th pick, go draft Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson, or if Carnell Tate falls to you at 9, draft them and then go get an offensive tackle at 29. And
anybody in this draft,
so many ways you can go.
Do you believe that there's anybody in this draft at the Kansas City Chiefs with 9 and 20? Anybody in this draft that completely changes their MO offensively or defensively if you package it together to move up from 9 to get higher up in the first round? Is there anybody up there that you say, of course there is, somewhere somebody is? Do you think the Kansas City Chiefs say there's somebody in this draft worth 2 number ones of moving up into the top 5?
Let me throw a name at you.
To grab for what they need.
Jeremiah Love, the running back out of Notre Dame, being talked
Are
about
you
as a
willing?
top 5 pick.
The last time they went and grabbed a first-round running back was Edwards-Helaire late after a Super Bowl. They had the kid from LSU, and it was almost I'm not saying he's not a good player. It was almost, well, we're good. We just won a Super Bowl, but this is just a bonus to add to us to upgrade our run game.
As a luxury
Makes
pick,
a good point. Right. That's no doubt. So in this situation, are you completely convinced, sticking with Jeremiah Love, that moving up to, let's say Segs, what's the 29 and 29? I don't have the value chart in front of me. Does that move you up to 5, somewhere in that range, maybe?
I think it's got to be close, right?
Okay, yeah, right. So let's just assume that it's the 4th or 5th pick of this draft. Do you believe Jeremiah Love is Saquon Barkley, McCaffrey, who was taken a little bit later than that, wasn't he? Segs, later than the 5th pick. Was he the first 5, or was he just like top 10, right? 8, 7? Saquon was number 2.
Yeah.
Number 3.
Number 3.
It went Baker, Sam Darnold, Saquon. Weren't they all in the same draft?
No, I think it was Baker, Saquon, Sam Darnold. I think the Jets got Sam at 3, if I remember correctly.
Okay. Let's see. Oh, because the speculation 1, 2, but Barkley jumped in and they took Darnold 3rd. It was either way. Those were the first 3 picks.
Those were the
right?
3. Yeah.
The point is Jeremiah Love worth a top 5 pick?
Yeah, and just looking at a quick trade chart, 9 and 29 would be worth like the 3rd and a half pick. So work out some
right
other
where we're
picks
at,
in
sitting
there.
around number 4.
You get to 4. Yeah.
Is he a franchise changer? Now they don't need a lot of change. They need a retool for the Kansas City Chiefs. Are you willing to do that and say, I'm going to put all my eggs right there and say that we get this guy, Mahomes, everybody's game changes offensively for us?
I know you know this about me, but maybe our listeners who haven't followed us for long since I was in Houston, I am 100% against taking a running back in the first round. 100%. I will never take
that cat, right? Even if it's Barkley, even if it's McCaffrey, even if it's Love.
Yes, I would rather have Mekhi Lemon or Jordan Tyson, or if Carnell Tate, one of those top 3 wide receivers, whichever one you like the best, and say Caden Proctor, the big offensive tackle from Alabama, if he drops to that spot that's about where he's at in mocks right now.
Which is always a temptation when you get a tackle that high, right?
When you start talking running backs, now if you're moving up for a guy like Will Anderson or something along those lines, then we can talk. But for me, a running back is a non-starter. I wouldn't even take him at 9 if he's there. That's how I am. That's how I've always been. I do devalue the running back as much as we say we don't want to. I do devalue them because it's just
you devalue them. There. Yeah, you devalue them because you've seen evidence that a 3rd rounder gets you as much production as a 1st rounder a lot of times, right? Yeah. So the question is Kansas City, who's really smart front office. They do a lot of great stuff. All right, let me ask you this, Segs. What's more valuable to you? I know what's more valuable to me. And they both reach their potential.
Mm-hmm. Okay.
As a dog. Okay. Then 29 and 9 to move up to get Love.
Okay.
Or keep the 9 pick, dabble whatever you're going to dabble. Keep the 9 pick, trade the 29 pick for A.J. Brown. So you get A.J. Brown and 9, or Jeremiah Love and give up 2 picks. What's more valuable to you? I know it is for me, even though I love Jeremiah Love. Give me Brown and I'm keeping the 9th pick and dangling that wherever I got to go, right?
Yeah. Yeah, you're taking, an offensive tackle. You need an offensive tackle. You just drafted one. You just cut one. get that bookend offensive tackle and shut it down? Or is there a pass rush? Does Reuben Bain fall for say, or Sonny Styles, maybe a guy you like? It doesn't necessarily have to be the offensive side of the ball, but I like that thought process of 9 and AJ Brown.
There you go. And what about this thing? One last thing. The temptation's also going to be there as you start to think about your team. When does Chris Jones? We saw him set the energy level, whether it's the season, he was tired, frustrated, whatever it was. How into this is he still? And do you have to start thinking about retooling part of your front seven if that's the case?
The Chiefs, and
part of this
retirement for him.
Right. With 9 and 29, it feels like they made this trade for McDuffie, not only money-wise, because he's going to get a new deal to the Rams, but also that retooling thought of we got to start to get some assets because we got to rebuild because some of our big dogs, Kelsey, maybe Chris Jones, are starting to go on the other side of this top of this pinnacle, right?
Let's also remember they just traded maybe their best defensive football player in Trent McDuffie, and you would have to replace him at some point. I mean, they don't have that guy. Jalen Watson's a nice player, but they don't have that guy on the roster. So maybe they like the kid out of Clemson or the kid out of LSU that are being talked about as, top 15 picks. So there's so many ways the Chiefs could go, and that's what makes the offseason so interesting. I wouldn't be surprised if I looked at Twitter right now and something else has happened, because that's just what I do a little bit. But real quick, moving on. Just hit this real fast. Sad news. We kind of been talking about it, expecting it when we heard he got put on hospice, but legendary head coach, Notre Dame, South Carolina, Minnesota, Arkansas, 1 year with the Jets, NC State, and William and Mary. Those were his stops. Lou Holtz passed away at the age of 89. I know you knew Lou through all your years and, at ESPN and everything. What are your thoughts on Lou Holtz?
And competing against him too, say, all the years you're playing. And Coach Holtz, I don't have any. When I was getting recruited by them, Jerry Faust became the head coach from Moeller High School. So I missed that part of being recruited by Coach Holtz. He was at ESPN when I was still there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm a big, you can look on my bookshelves and stuff. I'm a big, as you know, Seg's a huge reader, but also a big leadership, motivational speaking book guy. And whenever he's got a quote out, I look at it. Look, he's a hardcore patriot, God rest his soul. And the one thing I've loved about Coach Holtz from day one, whether you agree with the stuff he says or not, or that he said, he was convicted on the stuff. I mean, he had such conviction for if family, faith, football, friends. He had, you couldn't talk him out of. That doesn't mean thick-headed, just stubborn, but in his core values. And I know that sounds cheesy, but it was always impactful to me, Segs. And we had conversations at ESPN about a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
You're sitting there talking. And put it this way, if a topic comes up, Coach Holtz knew something about it, right, Segs? He knew something about everything. For me, it's the simple way to describe it. Like I said, there wasn't one come to Jesus moment and said, man, what an impact. From a distance and at times up close, watching the impact he made on others and just his impact on the guys he coached academically, go on. You always know one of those guys that probably drove his players crazy 6 days a week, Segs. Honestly, I've had coaches like that.
Yeah.
But I mean that affectionately, to the point that he's so fine-tuned, so down to I'm talking about precise and dynamic, that you could run a play that went for 40 yards in practice, but if the read wasn't exactly like he liked it, that feeling of let's run this again. So on game day, put it this way, he did everything possible to put his team in position on Saturdays to not beat themselves. Mm-hmm. And off the field, impactful, motivational speeches, all those things, and a very funny, clever sense of humor guy. So he'll be missed, but his impact, and we're always talking about people who make a difference. We overuse the term a lot. We say, as a difference maker because he caught a touchdown pass. Yeah. Coach Holtz, and against one of my most respected rivals, the SC Notre Dame rivalry, he is Notre Dame. He is motivational speaker. He is, if you believe in something, he did not waver from it. And his support and tough love. He kind of hit all those categories, those vertical categories, Segs, and compartmentalized. Impactful from a distance. Like I said, I never had that one. Man, I walked out of it. But his quotes and watching him give speeches and listening to him talk football and watching him coach and listening to how his family and his wife and how he felt about Notre Dame football.
Yes.
Seg, something we lose in this day and age. And this is my final part about this. God bless Coach Holtz. Love him. But Segs, did he love Notre Dame football so much? How often now? Coach Holtz, I don't believe, if he would have had the offer at SC or Michigan, Segs, while he was at Notre Dame, he would not have left for more money at that job. No. I think Notre Dame was his.
He wouldn't have even talked to him probably.
Right.
He was his
highest ranking of football kingdom as far as spirituality and everything that goes fit what his core values of who Coach Holtz is. And I just impactful man and a huge difference maker from afar and up close. And we lose that with players and coaches now transferring all over the place, taking more money. Who do you affiliate with? I can tell you, motivational difference maker, quality values, and a lifetime achiever that was impactful. And I think great leaders, Segs, at the end, I don't look at great leaders that just made themselves better and more impactful. They made other people great leaders. And Coach Holtz is a poster child for that. He will be missed. God bless him and his family, and Skip and the rest of the group. Off the field, on the field, hugely impactful, and loved family and faith, brother, and football.
Yeah, great man. If you grew up like I did, if you're around my age, Lou Holtz was, kind of the standard at that point in the 90s. When you thought of college football, it was Lou Holtz. And
thanks. Yeah, the thing that sticks out, and you're right, you're in that part of the country where you dealt with it every day, Coach Holtz. When you were a kid growing up, Coach Holtz was in his, role. Yep. The thing that sticks out, I'll never forget, and I'm pretty sure it was I know it was Coach Holtz who said it, and I'll just paraphrase, but I believe Notre Dame was getting ready to play, if we looked up the dates, because I remember it as a broadcaster, that they were getting ready to play in as a player, I think SMU, in a game, coming off the death penalty.
Oh, yeah.
And it was off to like 65-point favorites. So SMU, God rest. Nowadays, SMU would have been the king of NIL as opposed to getting the death penalty.
Yeah.
And they came off it, and Coach Holtz still, as Coach Holtz, hey, anything can happen in football. Dude, they're playing with like 7 dudes. You ain't beat Notre Dame. It would have been tough enough if they had Craig James and Eric Dickerson and Lance McElhaney in the backfield. But they didn't. And he just, the way he would, that'd be like Michigan right now saying he's getting ready to play a high school team.
Yeah.
Your Michigan Wolverines basketball team saying, and I'll tell you what, this 16-year-old center they got, pretty good player. And you're 97-point favorites, right?
Right.
And you're still telling your team when your team's going, Coach, all we got to do in this one, just because of attrition, show up and we're going to be okay.
Just be there.
But a way of saying, hey, it's football, 11 guys on the field, and SMU could barely throw 11 cats out there at the time. But yeah, one of the greats of all time. 89 years old, Segs felt. But up until the day he died, I mean, a month before, he was giving motivational speeches. It's impactful till his death. And I'm sure the good Lord sat up there, and Lou's already got a damn Notre Dame hat on Jesus's head saying, come sit next to me. I want to talk to you about it. And Jesus saying, Lou, you know a lot about Notre Dame football. I know more. So there you go. And Lou would probably get into a debate over who knows more.
Oh, 100%.
Which Holtz would about Notre Dame football. So God bless him, man, and his family.
Yes, 100%. All right. Before we take our quick commercial break, when we come back, we're going to talk a bunch of NFL topics. We're going to run through them, take about 4 or 5 minutes on each topic and what it means for these topics, and then we'll have our bet of the day to end the show. But first, Sean, tell me about Augusta Precious Metals.
Let's do it. Augusta Precious Metals. Guys, when you're protecting what you've already earned, IRA, 401k, it's not taxed when it comes to gold and silver and precious metals. Let's discuss moving forward how you're going to protect what you've already earned. Protect what matters most with gold and silver. Augusta Precious Metals is your premier gold IRA company. Diversify, protect, preserve. Hedge against inflation. That's what this does. Precious metals. They are tangible assets. Protect retirement savings. That retirement you've already earned, is cash doing that? physical gold and silver, education first approach, no sales tactics at Augusta Precious Metals. That's why I was drawn to them. Drawn to them because they're not pressuring you and hammering you over the head with something. They're trying to educate you so you know what's best for you, your family, your peace of mind, your security now, later, and in the distant future. How much time you have, how much money you have. Precious Metals. It's your premier gold IRA company. That is Augusta Precious Metals. Secure your future with tangible assets. Visit SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Gold and silver continue to rise. And it's one of those, there's no guarantees in life or in sports or in money, but I'll be damned if gold and precious metals isn't about as close as you're going to get. Text Sean to 35052. Again, there's no guarantees, but there is a guarantee that you'll get educated on precious metals. Again, text Sean to 35052 or go to SeanBuysGold.com. SeanBuysGold.com. Free information, no obligation, guidance, education, and confidence. SeanBuysGold.com.
All right, thanks to Augusta Precious Metals as always. All right, Sean, we got some NFL topics to kind of round out this show. You mentioned it earlier, we briefly talked about it, but let's hit more on it and what it means for the New England Patriots. They are set to release Stephon Diggs when the new year starts here in just under a week. What are your thoughts on them letting go of Diggs, who, you know, was their best receiver, in my opinion? Now they have Kayshon Boutte, Mac Hollins,
who started to elevate Segs this past year a little bit more.
Yes, he did.
Really did with Drake May.
But Drake May does not have a ton of talent. When you say even, I mean,
you mean talent around him or his talent? You mean talent around him?
Yeah, talent around him with Hooper, Hooper and Hunter Henry at the tight end position. Good players, but not difference makers. So I don't know that he has an offensive difference maker on his roster outside of himself. So what do you think of this decision to cut Diggs?
Yeah, and it's interesting, as Dr. J pointed out, when we were talking about Segs of 3 years ago or whatever it was, him in Buffalo, and then you're bringing a DJ Moore, and it's a similar. Yeah. When I say it's just a similar, you got to massage the situation. Does that make sense, Segs? I guess that's a kind way to put it. But if he ends up going back to a place like that, here's this is worth a debate not only with you and I, but with everybody. I always wonder, let's put money aside for just a second, Segs. Just for like in the Stephon Diggs case, right? Yeah. What did he make last year, Segs? What did we have him at? What was his salary? But while pulling that up, think about this, but I'm still putting money aside regardless. Why is it a guy like that keeps moving? Well, why won't? And especially on a New England team that now knows Drake May did not play well in the postseason, but we know he's a hell of a player, finished second in the MVP voting. But the lack of weapons and the trust factor in the postseason late when they got beat to get their, to where they wanted to go when they got beat trying to win a championship, the Super Bowl with Seattle. You could see their lack of weapons expose itself, correct? Including average quarterback play. So for a team that got to a Super Bowl and elevated with their defense and with Mike Vrabel and having a weapon like a Stephon Diggs and a few other guys, but not, put it this way, I didn't look at that team and say there's one true number one dominant player. Did you offensively? No. Other than the quarterback's really good and they did a nice job protecting him. And I think he ended up running more out the pocket than making more plays outside the pocket any quarterback in the league this year. Yeah. So, which is saying something. But Segs, what's it say for a team that I know got there? So maybe that's what they're leaning on, that we can overcome this. But a guy like Stephon Diggs, why does a guy like this, forget the money, why does he keep getting moved? If you know on that team you are lacking weapons, and he's a talented guy, but we're still waiting for him to even elevate to that Stephon Diggs, number one Minnesota Viking on his way to Buffalo guy. Well, why does this keep happening? I know the answer. I think I know you do too, but why in the world would New England in this case say, you know what, he's our best receiver, but time's up? Yeah. Even if you got him at the right value, why? Yeah, what is it?
His contract when he signed there was 3 years, $63 million. So just over
from Houston when he left Houston.
Yeah. So I mean, it's just got to be the attitude kind of wears you down quicker than you might think, even if you sign
production falling off. Six.
I mean, he had 85 catches for 1,000.
I know. That's my point.
touchdowns. So it
before he got hurt in Houston, Segs, he was putting up another 1,000 yards. So what is it? Is it, when there's that kind of disconnect from talent to that, and you keep letting them go, and you need weapons,
right?
But you're still letting them walk. Then you say to yourself, okay, why? Is this strictly financial? I don't believe everywhere he's gone it becomes strictly financial anymore. And I'm still trying to figure out. Segs, he was named the team captain when he was in Houston. So did that alleviate some of it, or did Vrabel just say we can go find somebody better with the money we're paying him? Does it just simply come down to that?
Yeah, I think a decent amount of it is money. They saved $16.8 million with the cut. You're taking on almost $10 million in dead cap. So I think, yeah, the money definitely has something to do with it. But it also, I mean, maybe like a 60-40, money 60, and just the attitude, and you just kind of don't want them there.
The whole overall headache just concerns you a little bit. Yeah. And that's why it keeps happening. And somebody else will take him. Yes. He is going to get picked up. Maybe it's the Kansas City Chiefs. Maybe it's another team. Maybe it's a former coach he's been with. It just, to me, Segs, it's like a guy that's talented and has his ups and downs, but can still play. And if you're New England, you're saying, I know we need weapons for a quarterback who's got MVP potential, yet we're still willing to part with it. And Segs, it really comes down to this. They think they can find somebody that's cheaper, less expensive, should I say, than $63 million over the 3 years we're going to pay him, and that you can probably get the same amount. But 85 catches and $1,000 it's not a bad season. The question is, does the other stuff creep into where you say, okay, when you average all the stuff in, it's better for us to move on? And that's what they've decided, obviously.
Yeah, I think it's going to be interesting to see, which team picks him up and which type of money he gets. I could see a team like the Rams just being like, hey, come be a luxury. We're not going to be able to pay you much, but if you want to come win a Super Bowl or compete in a Super Bowl again, we're going to be right there. You get to be the third with two other dudes.
And you should still catch 80 balls.
Yes.
Because they're going to be Puka and Devontae. Yes. Right.
I'm just running through teams in my head real fast. Would Baltimore make sense? Lamar need another weapon. So, I mean, there's definitely spots there on contenders that they need somebody. Like, I mean, you could look at Seattle. And now, do they want that headache? Maybe not, but that would be another good weapon to go along with Smith and Jigba. So,
strong personality team is going to need that's who you got to go. You got to go get it where he fits in with leadership, that you're just not counting on him to be the leader, where he can just fit in with a group of veterans, in my opinion.
A Sean Payton-led Denver Broncos. Give him to Bo Nix. That's What
about the New Orleans Saints giving your young quarterback a weapon? Sakes?
Yes.
That's a team that greatly needs.
That's a team that I think is ready to take a step further.
Agreed.
And that's where, it's not like Miami, who's just basically kind of tearing down, or maybe even like Arizona, who thinks they could compete, but I don't think so. So
and I think it kind of becomes things like New Orleans. It kind of becomes one of those hidden off-season gets if you go sign him, that you give your young quarterback, he'll be a second-year quarterback, a chance. Yep. And you say, we've upgraded wide receiver. It doesn't come with a lot of fanfare outside of New Orleans. Like, oh, Diggs landed there. And then you look up, and 9 games into the season, now he's complimenting their best receiver, and they're going now and adding to the run game with that receiver.
I think it'll mainly be more about how Stephon Diggs sees himself. Does he still see himself as I'm the number one. I have to be the number one on this team. And how much money does he want? If he's wanting that same contract, he's not getting that.
Well, guess what?
He
the
might
team
be
you
a
just named,
one guy,
right?
Now, where he's just traveling.
The team you named, you're exactly. Keeps getting paid and goes and ends up playing on 12 teams. Yeah, he is. The teams we just named, notwithstanding, he's not the number one. You mentioned Seattle. But he's a really talented guy that can get you 80+ catches and really make it easier on everything else, run game, quarterback, and whoever your number one is. So Stephon Diggs has still got game. It depends on where he is mentally and what's he willing to sacrifice to go to a team, no doubt.
Moving on to the Houston Texans, which we cover a lot on the show. You're down there in Houston. I spent 6-7 years down there in Houston. They re-sign offensive tackle Trent Brown after trading away Titus Howard, trading away Juice Scruggs, a couple guys on the offensive line. They bring him back. basically putting him at right tackle and Ursary, the young, coming off his rookie year.
His second-year guy,
yeah. I mean, I can't say I like it too much. I mean, this guy came in. I know PFF's not the end-all be-all, but he was the 40th rated offensive tackle in the NFL last year. I know they're not spending a ton of money on it, but again, I'm going to say it again. You need to upgrade your offensive line. I feel like they're just staying the course while getting rid of their best offensive lineman and Titus Howard. So
and
I
losing a depth guy in Scruggs too, right?
Yeah, I can't say I see the vision right now for Nick Caserio in this offensive line.
This to me is not a needle moving move
at all
for the Texans offensive line. Segs, what it is, it's a serviceable right tackle. It's a serviceable position. It's a serviceable position that you're always trying to replace. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
You know you got to do it. You've lost to it. Can you imagine if something happened in this situation and now you're moving on from 3 dudes in the year before you lost Tunsil and you're trying to rebuild, and then Kenyon Green didn't work out. You had to part with him. I mean, you got to have some warm bodies.
Yeah.
Trent Brown's a decent player. He's a decent player. Trent Brown, more than likely, is not going to end up in the Pro Bowl, but Trent Brown's not that the Pro Bowl is the end all anymore either.
Right,
but he's a serviceable, solid player, but it's not changing the course of your offensive line. It's helping add depth and a starter to it, and that's a good thing for continuity, but continuity is not in play right now because 2 of your guys who were part of that continuity are already gone. So now he goes to right tackle. Ursary, who Seg's probably right now, he may already be your best. I know he's got the most potential up front, but your left tackle may end up being, and that's fine. But he's still young and still going to need a little help. So with getting Trent back, and it's $7 million. I mean, he's a serviceable tackle that gives you a little flexibility, but you're not going to wow factor the 1-year extension family across the league. It's a solid one because you better listen. You keep getting them down, and you might as well just put a chair in the back and then let Stroud throw sitting down. Right. So this is needed, but not a needle mover.
And the other thing about Trent Brown is last year, first year with him, only played 7 games. The year before that,
durability factor,
only played 3. I'm looking at it right now. He's only played 3 full seasons since 2015, his rookie year. So this isn't a guy that stays healthy.
Segs, to think about this, my big word on that is like I'd always rather have 5 solid guys with continuity than 2 great ones and 3 average ones, right?
Yeah.
We talk about continuity. It's really hard to line up with continuity when 12 games total in the last couple of years he's played or whatever it is combined 10, of the last 10 games combined. You said 7 and 3, right?
Yep.
Okay, so 10 games. That I can't have you play 10 games in 1 year and call that continuity.
Yeah.
2 years, and you see the money on this. Trust me, the Houston Texans don't look at this as oh my gosh, this is a dominant situation. It's we need more able-bodied players who've got some experience, and he does, and he's a solid player. But my concern for him is, good player, but are you going to be doing it in street close to the sidelines, or are you going to be playing? It's a problem. Right. There is no doubt.
Well, and just real quick, trying to pull this up. I mean, you're kind of starting to set yourself when it comes to the offensive line, because you have Ariante Ursary, who we talked about at left tackle, Jarrett Patterson, or not Jarrett Patterson. He lost the job. Jake Andrews, he came in and looked decent at center, but not like, oh my God, this is our future here, but somebody you could trust, I think, to at least start the year. And then you have Ed Ingram, who, what's your, is he that needle mover when it comes to offensive guard? No, he's on a cheaper deal. And right now he's your right guard, and your left guard is Jarrett Patterson, who lost the center job. So, I mean, you don't have many spots to really fill here,
right,
to make this line better. How do you make this line better when you're adding Trent Brown as the right tackle? That's where I don't know. I'm just like, I'm trying to work this out and be like, this is what the Texans can do.
Well,
it's not much there.
No, with the money and the fact that this isn't exactly, you're paying somebody $25 million to block
Right.
It's not, you're getting it for the money and for what the Texans need and for depth and for at least, penciled in going in who's supposed to start at right tackle. This is a good move, but it's not the move that makes this isn't automatically keeping, and he's a veteran and he's respected and he knows how to play football, but this isn't the only move up front that's going to get you to February. And isn't that the goal? Isn't that the goal? But they got to do everything they can. This has been a position of problem for a while now.
Yeah, I misread the chart. Ed Ingram's a free agent, so he's going to be a free agent this year. So he's not even.
No, but didn't you talk? But you talked about but you were talking about Ingram's performance.
Right.
That's what I assumed. So
but
who knows, Segs? Are they going to bring him back?
Yeah,
I don't know. So
yeah, I just not sure where they're going to head. Dallas Cowboys have restructured, reworked, however you want to say it, Dak and CeeDee Lamb's contracts, which obviously you have to do because they're so far under the cap. I mean, hell, they saved like $38 million with Dak's restructure. That didn't even get them clear of the bottom. Like they didn't even cross that threshold of, oh, now we're in the green. No, you're still in the red. So then CeeDee Lamb's got them over into the green. So, but it's something that all teams have to do every single year. Right. But it's just a lot of money between Dak and CeeDee Lamb that they free up year after year.
No question. And Segs, this is a conversation we also had, inside the last 3 weeks of the season, or when we started talking about what are they going to do this offseason. And reference back to the 49ers during Jerry Rice's days and the Cowboys during Aikman and those groups' days. Smart franchises go to their core players and say, how much you want to win? They did it with Brady in New England many times. You restructure your biggest contracts, they still get their money and then some up front, and you make it work. This is no surprise. It would have been a bigger surprise, Segs, if you hadn't asked CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott to clear space. And it also leads to the next move. While you're right, even with the Dak Prescott thing, you still weren't under it. And CeeDee Lamb and his big new contract takes you into the right category when you're talking about salary cap. They're still not done yet. Yeah. And Segs, they're still trying to free up stuff forget a draft. Now, Jerry hasn't exactly been the best off-season go get a guy, move guy. Okay, 2 years ago or 3 years ago, their biggest one was bringing the running back. Okay, that they had drafted in the first round. From what's the guy's name? Says the running back that they drafted in the first round. And right, that just goes to show you, it was an off-season move, either 2 off seasons or 3 off seasons ago. Why am I losing my mind?
That just
goes to show you. And it's sad because if you ask me about Walt Garrison and Calvin Hill, I could tell you. I mean. Who I'm talking about.
Get us in the comments.
Somebody's got to tell us that.
I'm trying to pull it up here.
He was a good player. He went on. They brought him back in an off season. And I don't think he's in the league right now, but it'll come to me. I don't. Anyway.
Zeke Elliott.
Ezekiel Elliott. Thank you. Remember when they brought him back? It was like, that entire time. Right. Like, it was like in the off season. You're like, this was your biggest move to.
Yeah, he went somewhere and got kind of fat. Was it New England, maybe, or somewhere?
Maybe.
He
don't even know.
Real puffy, and then he came back and he looked even bigger in Dallas's camp, and they're like, "What the hell?"
So Jerry isn't. I mean, that big move, and he's made some, but you get my point. But to try and free up or trying to create some space to make either a big offseason move or, Jerry's always leading up to tell you, we got a great plan for draft day. Fine. The Cowboys are still a few players away from being a few players away to get back to where they want. And that's 1995, dude.
Yeah.
Okay. That's what that is.
30 years.
And so no doubt about it. So if asking your best players that make the most money to restructure, that's a smart thing to do. Now the question is, what will they do after they get a little money in their wallet to go out and add to a team that, quite frankly, on the defensive side of the ball needs more help? They just do.
A lot more help.
No doubt.
They need more help than just a Max Crosby or a Trey Hendrickson. And then the last topic here when it comes to NFL today, something I found interesting. Cam Jordan, drafted in 2011 by the New Orleans Saints, has spent every season with the New Orleans Saints, has never missed a game. He will not have a new contract with the New Orleans Saints come the beginning of free agency, so he will be free to talk to teams for the first time in his career. And I think that perked up Bears fans a little bit because who was his longtime defensive coordinator? Dennis Allen. And what do the Bears need? They need that edge rusher. Cam Jordan had 10.5 sacks last year at his age, after being in the league 15 years. He had 10.5 sacks. He's a guy that can come over with Montez Sweat. But what do you think of the Saints not getting a contract done with Cam Jordan? Because this is the type of thing you want to see. You want to see Cam Jordan play. If he wants to play 2 more years, play them in New Orleans and not go to wherever.
It's a mistake. It's a mistake, Sigs. And I have bias on this, and a lot of it. And I don't need to have bias to sell you on Cam Jordan being a pro, dude. I've said it a million times. Just because you have a contract and get paid doesn't make you a professional. This dude not only gets paid and produces, but he's a pro in every sense of the word. Attitude, teammate, the way he approaches his job. And I'm biased towards him because I watched that kid running around our field on turf when he was a kid. His dad's one of my best friends and one of my great teammates. And the great thing about the guy who was my teammate, Steve Jordan, as underrated a player as I ever played with, was in the Pro Bowl 6 or 7 times, and phenomenal friend, phenomenal preparation, went to Brown, everything that you'd want in a player, Steve Jordan had. Everything you want in a player, and I'm talking about on, off the field prep, everything you want. Unselfish, Cam fits it. The mom and dad, the mom and pops are people I've known for years. I consider Steve Jordan one of the best players I ever played with, one of the best teammates you'll ever have. And he raised a damn good son who's a really good football player in Ivy, which we called him because he's a Brown guy, is Ivy League. Ivy will probably sit here and not probably, he'd tell you that his kid is more talented. And that's saying something, because I'm telling you what, there's nothing Steve Jordan couldn't do. And so, Segs, to me, there's certain core players you got to try to work it out any way you can. Cam Jordan's probably going to play, 2 or 3 more years and go on and have success, because that's family, that's DNA too. Cam gets it. I'm partial to this because I watched that kid grow up for a handful of years and then following him throughout his career and then knowing his pops knowing his pops very well and having some great memories. You can give me Cam Jordan anytime. And if the Saints are not going to keep him, Segs, Cam Jordan's going to make a difference on some other team. If you're a Super Bowl contender, get him immediately. And he's a great human being.
I mean, we know him as a great player, but man, I just looked because I wasn't 100% sure. I would have guessed he was right around 100 sacks. That would have been my guess, maybe 100 to 110 sacks in his 15 years. He's at 132. So, I mean,
Hall of Famer.
We're
talking Hall of Fame stuff. Yeah.
Yes.
And durability matters, Segs. And he's got it.
Hasn't missed a game. Has only not started a game one time, his first game of his rookie season. He did not start.
Pops.
Second game he started, never not started again. Think about that. 2011. We have dudes in the NBA who fucking take the night off 2 times a week because they can't handle
three games into their career because their rookie legs were tired. Yeah, no doubt. He's like I said, he's everything you want. And his old man, at the certain part of later in his career, Steve's feet, his lower feet and ankles slowed him up a little bit.
Yeah,
I'm just telling you. But Steve posted every friggin' game, dude. It didn't matter. Being injured is one thing. Steve Jordan played hurt. I can guarantee you 15 years into a career, how many games do you think this guy should have missed? A lot. But they don't let that creep in because they know at 80%, they're still going to give you more than a lot of guys at 100% that aren't bought in. Cam Jordan's one of the great pros we have, and there ain't a thing you can tell me about Cam Jordan that says not a true pro. The guy will be playing somewhere and helping somebody, and he's starting to approach Hall of Fame numbers. He's already approached Hall of Fame years in durability. His production says Hall of Fame, which would I know make mama and pops happy in the Jordan home. It'd be great.
Yeah. One last thing I just saw real quick. Jaden Daniels, Commanders quarterback, has a new NFLPA certified agent. His mother.
Who was his originally?
Remember, it was his mom trying to negotiate everything.
Oh, that's right. That's right. Mom
she
was
is
around
now
everything, including
a certified agent. Yes. Would you want your mom as your agent?
No, and my mom got tired of being around me enough when I was such a pain in the ass. Like, son, I don't want to be your agent.
Yeah, but you're in the NFL. Get out of my house.
My mother, my relationship, my mom and pops were great. But my mom, to the point, she'd have said, I don't even want, my mother will said, I don't want any of your money and I don't want anything to do with it. You go do your thing. We've raised you right. Go cut it. Hell no, my mom wouldn't want to do that. She thought I was a big enough pain in the ass. Now she wants to sit in business meetings with me? No.
Yeah.
Mom, it turned out great. Her answer is, great, honey. Save your money. And my mom used to complain because you walk into my house, Segs, great story, is my air would be on. You could hang meat. You've been around me. You know how cold I like it. I mean, I sleep at 63 degrees during the wintertime on my air conditioning. And my bill, I've said this before, and I don't wear it as a badge of honor, ever. My home that I had when my kids were growing up, invest and make it the home where all the kids want to come to because I want my kids around. And when my mom would come visit, my pops when they were alive, my dad loved it because my dad ran hot.
Yeah.
Segs, and I'd go on like on a 2-week ESPN because they had to go do all that and then travel and do a college game and go back and do sports. Like I'd leave it on 63. I'd come home and it was because of humidity in Texas. I'd come home and my mom would say, son, even when they weren't there, turn the air off, set it where it goes off to 72 while you're gone. And I'd come home and it'd be like I walked into an igloo and it was freezing cold. I'd try to ice fish and she'd say, son, what's your bill? The house was big at the time, right? For my 3 kids and all their friends. And I loved it. Not the house. I just liked having kids around. And you give me a kitchen and outdoor pool in my master bedroom, I really don't need much else other than a good TV, right? Simple. But my bill, Segs, averaged for the 6 or 7 years I was there, like $2,200 a month. And I don't wear it. It's stupid. Put it this way. You never wear the badge of honor. I'm embarrassed to say it, but I didn't manage the air conditioning, the HVAC at my house. And my mom would be wearing a jacket in the house. I say, Mom, man, this cold keeps you alive longer too. This is good stuff. Yeah. And she wasn't, at that point in time, she was healthy as could be, right? And she goes, son, your dad and I don't earn that kind of money, and you're spending that on this, and you're not even home to enjoy it at times.
Yeah.
I'm like, man, I know. So one of the craziest. So you think my mom wants to be around me and the second I get heated, like I can say, where that emotion was.
Oh yeah.
My mom, who is the talker, my dad didn't say much. Even my mom, who is the talker and the emotional one in the family, looks at me like says, honey, don't you dare talk to your dog like that for peeing on the carpet, right? Like, don't. And it wasn't even just like, you can't pee on the carpet, man. I know you're a puppy. Not even raise my. Oh, honey, that dog doesn't know better. Like I'm the bad guy. Thanks, Mom. Guilt trip. So hell no, she didn't want to be around, do my contract. And no, if I'm Jaden Daniels, I want it outside the family because you know what? Business and family sometimes can become complicated.
Definitely.
I was one of the fortunate ones, but no. All right. Well, guess what? Hey, if you want to keep it in the family, keep it in the family. So
that's how it works.
Would you hire your dad to do your contract sake?
Hell no.
And he wouldn't want any part of it either, would he?
Nope.
Have a beer with me and talk baseball, dude. I don't want to do all that. That's exactly right.
Exactly. All right.
Now, when you start sending your dad to talk to me about negotiations, you and I are going to have a problem. Because I actually like your pops more than I like you anyway. You and Brian Barrett. I'll take your 2 dads and kick you 2 to the curb, man.
That's how it works. Yeah. All right. Tonight we got Michigan at Iowa. Michigan minus 8.5, 145.5.
What's the spread, Segs?
8.5.
To be nice to you, I'm gonna take the way they're playing and trying to, I'm gonna take. This is a tough one for me. I'm gonna take Michigan by double digits, so I'm gonna lay those points for you.
I like it. That'd be like win 16, number 16 by double digits in the Big Ten this year.
Oh, well, don't you agree, Segs? There's a clear difference between if they play their best game, it'll be more than that.
I'm actually surprisingly, I'm going to take Iowa with the points because I think they already won the Big Ten. That's wrapped up. They only got 2 games left. They're up by 3 or 4.
So you think they're cruising right now?
I think Michigan wins, but I think it'll be closer because they're going to be trying to figure some things out because they lost Kaysen, their backup point guard, to the year to an ACL. So they got to figure out, how the rotation is going to work. So they're going to use that. These next 2 games against Iowa and Michigan State is kind of get right for the tournaments and going. So I think Iowa will keep it close. And Iowa's a good team. I think they'll be probably a 6.
Solid. Well, it's typical. It's kind of like Iowa football. They just always hang around.
Yeah. And they got a really good freshman who will be a lottery pick this year. I'm going to say Iowa keeps it within the 8.5. Michigan still wins by 5. 5 to 8.
Backdoor cover like a 3 with 45 seconds to go, which gets inside the number. Fair.
Yeah.
I'm just choosing your side because I mean,
if they go win by double digits, that's what they do.
They may be playing though so free-spirited, Segs, while they're trying to figure it out without pressure. that you know how that goes. When that's when you clear your mind,
just
hell,
blow
they
them
may
out.
boat race them by 20. Right.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but much
All right.
respect to Iowa, because it's like the whole school and everything they do, Segs, in every sport.
Just
Honestly,
even killed.
they're the type of guy you say, I don't want to play you guys anymore because I always have to work extra hard to
Yes.
beat you. But the talent the discrepancy in talent, should I say, is far different. The question is, what kind of mood is Michigan in as they continue to readjust getting ready for the tournament? And, will Iowa knock down some shots, because the talent level is a little bit different, but Iowa's no pushover. Iowa can win a game or two in the tournament if they do it.
Yeah, I think so.
Depending on the draw.
I think there'll be a sneaky team in the tournament to get to the Sweet 16. All right, that'll do it for Unpaved, the flagship of USC football, Houston Texans coverage. We hit a lot of Texans this week. We're going to hit a lot of Texans with the NFL offseason coming. Get to YouTube, like and subscribe at Sean Unpaved, Sean Salisbury, I think it is. I don't have my thing up right now.
That would be it. That would be it.
That's it. And then Twitter, at Sean Unfiltered, at Adam G. Sager. Thanks to Bailey, Laura, and all our viewers and listeners. We can't do it without you on Rumble and YouTube. We really appreciate it. We'll be back tomorrow. I'm sure we'll have another trade or big time cut to discuss tomorrow in the NFL. We'll be back at 1 p.m. Eastern, noon Central. Peace.
Unpaved, Sean Salisbury here. We're bringing authentic, real stuff to you. Hardcore opinion.
John Salisbury, a great NFL analyst, a former NFL quarterback.